So, Stu, this week, a few things happening. Something I wanted to talk to you about. Um, Made some decisions this week. We'll get into the training. Going to start rewriting copywriting secrets.
Oh,
I'm making the public declaration now. Going to rewrite copywriting secrets. Not going to try and do it like all of. I'm going to redo this in, a week and a half, and I got this done in 9 days, and no caffeine. Like that would happen. And I'm noodling around in my head how I'm gonna do it. And I think it's gonna turn it into like a 6-month event, because what I want to do is I want to redo it in the new reality of AI. So gonna look at each chapter, think
nice.
about what needs to get updated in each chapter. And then each chapter is then also going to have a section in it about AI and how AI, but I've got to thread the needle on it, because look at how much AI has evolved in the last 18, 24 months.
Insanity.
And so I got to be careful how I do it so that it will be useful, but useful for a long time, regardless of what kind of AI platforms and stuff come out. And then, of course, at the end of each chapter, there'll be a QR code to a video that you can watch for a genie that will be amazing.
Oh, I love it.
And
That's
so
cool.
I think it'll be cool. So I'm gonna cook on it a little bit more, and then I'm gonna need to talk with you about just about what we might do this time.
I would do this just like Copywriting Secrets AI edition, written in big red
Ooh, I like that.
print letters.
I like that. That would. Oh yeah, I like that. That's a good idea, Stu.
Thank you, sir.
I like that a lot, actually. Hey, I'm gonna do a mock-up.
I have good ideas for other people.
I'm gonna um okay, look, I got the mock-up here already done. Looks kind of like something from Halloween or something, an old slasher movie. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. I'll talk to Nancy. But anyway, that was kind of my thought. So update each chapter, then
Cool.
have a section with each chapter about AI, and then have a QR code to go look at a genie. And then I'll probably in the introduction have a little note for the chuckleheads who say things like, "This is nothing but a pitch for your software." Yep, you're right. That's all it is.
Hey,
So, Stu, been thinking a lot lately about agency stuff.
what is an agency, Jim?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because the very first note on my board was I need to say, what is an agency? And so the title of today's presentation is Add Agency Services to Your Existing Business. In fact, Stu, I got a big fancy graphic right here that does that. And you know what? I should probably zoom in, because here's the thing. The term agency, what does the term agency actually mean? What refers now, back in the day, an agency was like an ad agency or something. Things like that. And then when we started doing stuff back in the 90s, making websites, we said we had a website development company. And interestingly enough, now you would just call that, I got a website agency. So in a nutshell, agency basically means doing stuff for others, doing some sort of stuff for money. Okay, that's in a nutshell. That's what an agency is. So if you really want to think about it, an agency, you do agency stuff, Stu.
Yes.
Now you call it coaching, but in the end, it's doing stuff for other people. This is just a term for we do stuff for other people. So you have an agency. I guess one way maybe to really it would be an agency is if you were making workouts for other coaches to give to their clients and nobody knew it was you doing it. Maybe that's a distinction
Right.
between agency and coaching. Okay.
Okay.
So typically an agency is doing stuff for other people that they're going to use in their business, and you're probably not going to get any credit for it, but you are going to get paid. So I got a bunch of other trainings that we're doing on 10 ways to get your first client. We're putting together an entire boot camp, AI agency boot camp, the AI agency boot camp. In fact, doing a master class and a whole bunch of stuff on that. So this is really one of the modules for that boot camp, talking about how to add agency services to your existing business. So now we know what an agency is. It's doing stuff for other people, making stuff for them, creating stuff, analyzing things, doing things for someone that they're going to use in their business in some kind of way. I've also heard it referred to as, like, a lot of it's hear people talk about like a fractional chief marketing officer, a fractional this or a fractional that. They're not hiring you, but they're having you do specific things for them in their business. So in the end, it comes down to people pay you to do stuff. So if I was going to do this, probably the best way for me to describe how to add an agency service to your existing business would be to describe what I would do. And I always like to look at stuff from the standpoint of, if I had to start over again from today, what would I do? Because not everybody already has, a big email list, a following, and all that stuff. I mean, I can answer this question in 30 seconds, how to add agency services to your existing business. If I was going to add it to the business I have now, I would put up a page that said, basically, I'll write your sales letter for you for $10,000. There you go. That it would be that easy for me to do that. I'd send an email. I'd get 10 or 20 people that would say, sure, I'll have you write my sales letter for me for $10,000. And then I would space them out. And there you go.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. Now, that doesn't really help you. So what I want to do is talk about what I would do if I had to start all over again. And I'd go through a very specific process. So what I'm going to do, Stu, is I'm going to go over the process, and then I'm going to come back through the process with an example. That way you'll be able to see the process and then have it come to life. All right. Mm-hmm. So step one, what do you think step one would be in this entire process, Stu? It begins with A, ends with R, has a V in the middle.
Go ahead and spell it out for me.
Avatar.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I would pick my avatar. Choose your avatar. Who are you going to serve? An agency is basically a fancy way of saying you have a service business that does stuff for people. Well, the first thing you got to figure out is which people you're going to be serving. Now, hopefully, again, if you've got a business or idea for a business, you know who, all right? But ultimately, the very first thing you got to do is figure out, okay, who am I going to serve? I'm going to pick my audience. I'm going to pick the people that I'm going to help. Then the second thing, so we got training coming out the wazoo on this, how to choose your avatar. I will just tell you in a very quick way, the best avatars for any of us are people who are who or where we used to be, that we can kind of reach back in time and help, or they are people that are like people that are close to us now that we love and we want to help currently. All right. So you're either trying to fix your past self or fix someone that's close to you now. I'll give you plenty of examples here in a minute. Second step is you would want to isolate the big problem that they're facing. And typically what you really want is a compound problem, meaning there's an upfront problem, and then once that upfront problem is solved, it creates an ongoing problem. So I guess I'll fill in an example to begin with. So avatar, who would be somebody I could go after? I can go after real estate agents because there's a bunch of them and I was one of them, and I know how to speak their language and all that good stuff. Big problem every single real estate agent has up front is lead generation. I gotta switch my, so real estate agents, upfront problem they have is lead gen. How do I get more buyer and seller leads? And then an ongoing problem they have is watering their farm, staying in touch with people. So this would be ongoing problem would be social media and then an email newsletter. That at a minimum is what every agent has to do, but they don't have time to do it. So that would be the thing, knowing what the big problem is up front. They need more leads. This is also something I can communicate with them very easily about, like, hey, do you want more leads? I want more leads. Great. We can set up all the lead pages that you need, all the lead magnets, events, all that stuff. And then the ongoing problem, once you start building that list, you need a way to drip on them until they're ready to buy or sell. So the next thing I would do would be to create or isolate or define a process. I would define my process, my system, okay? And specifically using AI tools. How could I use AI tools to solve that upfront problem, that ongoing problem? Which is basically what we've done inside of copyandcontent.ai.
Yep.
But it would be, how am I going to solve this using AI tools? Because one of the biggest problems with having an agency is not selling the people. Selling somebody like, hey, I can help you get more leads. I can help you, do this and this. They're like, hell yeah. All we got to do is just agree on a price. The problem is once you sell it, then you got to fulfill it while also being able to sell more clients. While also, you want me to zoom in?
You're good.
Let me make me big.
No.
You're still there, Stu.
Okay.
But the problem is the time of I sold it. Now I got to make it. Then I got to deliver it. Now I got to sell some other people and I got to resell these people. So every time you sell something, you actually are taking yourself off the street. And so the original solution was, okay, I'll hire staff, I'll outsource. The problem with hiring staff or outsourcing is that it's a human being. And when there's human beings involved, there's communication, there's time lapses, there's breakdown, there's all kinds of stuff that happens. And they want to get paid, usually more than they're worth. So that sounds terrible, but true. So using AI tools and plugging them into my system, I'm going to be able to create that result 100 times faster so that I can balance my time. So, for example, I would figure out how to use AI to create lead magnets and to automatically create newsletters for specific clients. That would be the big thing that I would be showing them, and the follow-up and all that good stuff. But it's basically isolating this difference between the upfront, which is typically, we'll call it one time, because once somebody's got a lead gen thing that's working, once you got a sales letter that's working, you're not going to really write another sales letter for a while. You should be promoting the thing you got. So the one-time thing is what hooks them, but what keeps them is the ongoing stuff that has to happen as a result of that working. So that's why my thing would all be around how to use AI to create lead magnets, advertise those lead magnets, follow up on those lead magnets, but ultimately getting them a stream of customers or a stream of leads that they need to follow up with. And then I would have the newsletter and the social media stuff so they don't have to worry about it. Creates a machine. I run it. Think of it like turning a crank. I'm turning the crank for them and they're paying me to turn that crank. But instead of me manually turning the crank, AI is doing 90% of the work. So once I created that system, then what I would do would be to document the whole thing. So once I've done that, I'm going to document, I'm going to refine, and I'm going to just really get those steps nailed. Now, the reason why I want to do that is because then I'm going to do it for somebody. I'm going to do it to prove it. Because what sells this is results. What sells this is you actually having done this for somebody. That's why you always see, there's always that case study, the poster boy, the poster girl, the person that they hold up until they have somebody else that did a better job. But you just need one. Hey, I did this for so-and-so and they're crushing it. Oh, well, shoot, I'm smarter. And then the customer's like, oh, shoot, I'm smarter than so-and-so. Can you do it for me? And so document it, refine it, and then do it, prove it for somebody. I would go find probably 5 real estate agents that I knew, and I would drag them kicking and screaming through the process, documenting the results so that I had a couple of case studies that I could then turn around and show and share with others to sell them into doing stuff with me. And the cool thing is none of this has to take that long. In fact, this entire process that I'm talking about here, if you were motivated, if you were focused, and if you actually would sit down, bear down, and do this like your livelihood depended on it, everything I'm talking about here, you could get this entire process, even finished it yet. You could get the entire thing done in less than 60 days, 8 weeks. Okay. Absolutely could get this done in 8 weeks. All right. Now, would you be working 4-hour days and taking every weekend off? No. This is called bust your butt, get it going. But once it's up and running, people pay you to turn that crank. Okay. So once I've documented, refined the steps, did the thing, then at that point, I would start selling. I would start selling to my hot market. And my hot market would basically be working my sphere of influence, working the people that I knew, working through referrals, just going out there and finding anybody that I could do this for who could pay me. All right. And again, this is where you're trying to get even more case studies. For some people, this is going to be easy. For other people, it's going to be a real struggle. For some people, you could maybe get 10 people to say, sure, I'll give it a try. I mean, it's all a matter of price, but you don't want to do it for free. When you're up here in this one where you're documenting, refining, doing the steps, do it, prove it, you might do that for free for people that you absolutely know, that you put them in a stranglehold and say, hey, look, we're going to be doing this together and you better do what I tell you, okay? But now what we want is somebody to actually pay us. Might be doing it at a reduced rate, but we're trying to get like customers going. Now, because all you need is one really good case study. 2's better than 1, 3's better than 2, but all you need is one good one. So the other thing I will tell you is that depending on what you're doing, you may not even need to have a person to do it and prove it. You just do it and prove that it works if you do it for yourself. So if you were, let's say you were doing stuff for people on LinkedIn or something like that, you could just do it for yourself, and then you are your first case study. Does that make sense? So I'm not necessarily saying you have to do it, prove it for someone else, but you just have to do it and prove it. But in this case, I couldn't really do it with real estate without having a real estate agent on the end because of legalities and stuff like that. So after we start selling it to the hot market, the people that know us, next step is going to be, at least what I would do, I would write a book. Now, I wouldn't write a 500-page book, 300-page book. I would write the kind of book that we write inside of writeyurbook.ai. Okay, 120-page book, just like what we did with story selling, which by the way was the #1 Amazon bestseller. Real book, legit book. Lots of people bought it. They like it. It proves that I know how to teach people how to sell with stories. So write a book. Why? Because it's going to give us credibility when it comes to that big problem. Plus, this is going to help us to get up in front of groups of people who are our avatar and tell them what we do, talk about their problem, talk about our process, hold up a book with the credibility. People can buy the book and say, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about, and there's no way in hell I want to do this for myself. Let me contact them to have them do it for me. You want to go from unknown to known and instant credibility? Get yourself a book on the topic of what you're doing for people in your agency. Then what I would do would be to create a course. Teach people your process. Now, I wouldn't necessarily teach them how to do it using AI tools, but I would definitely teach them the process and what needs to get done. And the reason I would do that is because, again, books are for credibility, but courses are how you actually make money. Because you can sell a book for $30 now. Books are $30 now. You say $20. Thanks, inflation. Books are for credibility, but a course sells for $100, $200. Depending on how many modules you have in it, can be $500 or $1,000. But you teach them that process. Here's the thing. The vast majority of people who go through your course will never do it. But when they see you as the teacher and the person who's teaching the course, when they decide, hey, I want to have somebody else do it, they're going to hire the person that taught them what should be done. So again, with these last two steps, the cool thing is inside of copy and content, if you are in on the yearly basis, you have access, on-demand access to the mistakes book track. You could have a mistakes book written in a couple of weeks, just following along with what we do inside of the Write Your Book track, that if you're in on the annual plan, you have access to that. And to create a course, we have the 5-day course creation challenge that's in there that I believe everybody has access to, replay wise. Okay. So the next step after that would be, when I had my book, I had my course. Again, you can have that book done in a couple of weeks. You can have a really good course done in a week. Okay. So you can see all of this, and you can actually do it quicker if you like stop watching TV at night for a couple of weeks. Next step would be to go ahead and create funnels for each of these. And funnel is just a fancy name for a website. But I would have a funnel to sell my book. I would have a funnel to sell my course. I would have then, as the one-time offer on the back end of selling each one of those, the OTO, the one-time offer, would be whatever my service was. And again, I might not try and get them into the recurring thing with the social and the newsletter, but it might just be, hey, let us build your entire front-end lead generation process. We'll create the lead magnet for you. We'll create the opt-in page. We'll create the thank you page. We'll create a 6 email follow-up. We'll create 10 Facebook ads. We'll create, I mean, just this giant list of just amazingness. And then, it's like $997. Well, crap. When you compare that, it's a $10,000 offer for $997. The thing is, I could make that with AI tools. I could make all that stuff in about, once I knew who their avatar was, I could make all that stuff in about 4 hours. So would you be happy making $250 an hour? This is not an income claim. Your results may vary. But if you were able to get $1,000 for that, took you 4 hours to do it, that's a pretty good return on investment, I think. Because if you got 2 people a week to pay you $1,000, 50 weeks a year, that's 6 figures. Again, this is not an income claim. Your results may vary, but that's doable. That's handleable because of the AI tools. Without the AI tools, you're going to want to run out on a highway in front of a beer truck and have them save you the misery. Because as soon as you sold 4 or 5 clients, if you were doing this all by hand, you'd be ripping your hair out. So then the last thing I would do is I would start back-ending the people who've hired me for the upfront problem. I would back-end them with an offer to handle the ongoing problem. So in this case, my real objective here is to offer them newsletter, which is basically email, and social media services. And I would have a menu of services. I'd basically have Happy Meals. Okay. And you always want to go with kind of a good, better, best. So in this particular case, good might be we do one newsletter a month and we do 4 social media posts a week. Better would be 2 newsletters a month and 10 social media posts a week. Best might be a weekly newsletter, 10 social media posts, and 2 blog posts, something like that, where they're like, well, crap. Yeah, that sounds good. Let me do this. And what you really want is to just maximize this back end stuff so that you're not starting over each month from zero. That's where, so then you get into a rhythm of, you're selling it, you're making it, you're delivering it, sell it, make it, deliver, sell it, make it, deliver. And then as you grow, that's when you might bring on a person to help you with turning the crank. So, you get a part-time person who's really good. Maybe you bring on an editor. Maybe you bring on somebody to work with the clients directly. Just depends on where you want to be in this whole process. But the objective is, especially if people might be, Jim, you're the guy, me even wearing the shirt. Do you make money in your sleep? Talking about having a legacy business and selling courses and selling books and mailbox money and all that other stuff. Hey, here's the reality. You got to balance short-term income requirements with long-term income requirements. But if you notice, I have built in here the path to salvation with making money while you sleep. Because as you create a course, you write a book. This probably won't be the last course you ever make in this area. As you expand your services, that leads to maybe another book, maybe another course. Well, now all of a sudden, courses start selling. Your autopilot money is kicking in. Maybe you cut down on the amount of service that you're doing, or you raise the price, which will automatically cut down on the number of people that normally it'll cut down. Sometimes it actually increases the people that want to hire you. If you raise your price, they figure, oh, it must be better, must be really good. But you find that equilibrium. And we're going to talk about this in another module about why we all should be doing some agency work, not the least of which is that as soon as you stop doing whatever it is you're teaching people about, you automatically start to stagnate. Let me say that again. And we're going to address that in the why we should all do some agency work module. But as soon as you stop doing it, you're basically in decline because you're not keeping up with what's new. You don't have real experience in what's going on. You start losing touch with the market and the changing problems, landscape, all that stuff. So you've got to be doing it, and preferably doing it with or for other people to some degree in order to maintain that awareness and that credibility. Also, if you're doing that, you can come out with a new version of your book, as we've talked about, coming out with a new version of this book. You can modify your course or re-record your course when things change.